Hi there, my name is Zoe DeBroux, and today I will be presenting pages 367 through pages 369 from Chapter 9 with this overall focus: do other species share our cognitive skills? So, to begin, I'll begin with this idea that animals are much more intelligent than we realize. And so Margaret Floyd Washburn was one of the first psychologists to really pioneer this idea. She wrote a book titled The Animal Mind, or The Animal Brain, excuse me, 1908, that argued that animal consciousness and intelligence can actually be inferred from their behavior. And scientists at the University of Cambridge in 2012, I believe, confirmed this idea and added on this idea that animal behavior can also be explained by their brain activity and their brain patterns as well. So many studies have been done to see how animals can sort objects or to form concepts, including psychologist Vonk et al., for example, conducted a study with black bears and showed that they were able to learn to sort different pictures into animal versus non-animal categories when given a food reward, so forming this conceptual ideas. And then Wasserman in 1995 conducted a study with pigeons showing that they could reliably pick a key on a keyboard that aligned with this concept of a chair after they had been given a visual image of a chair, a never-before-seen chair. So many of these tests involve the two concepts of convergent or divergent thinking, which are concepts that we study in the human brain as well. So beginning with convergent thinking, this is required for different intelligence tests for a subject to narrow down one solution from a group of solutions to come to the best one. Divergent thinking differs in that it's the ability to solve creatively, creative problem solving, and diverging from just one solution to a group of solutions. Another cognitive skill that we have been proven to share is this idea of displaying insight. So this can be seen in a very famous study done by psychologists Wolfgang Kohler in 1925. So Kohler conducted a study with a chimpanzee named Sultan, and he placed a small piece of fruit on the outside of Sultan's cage with a large stick also on the outside of the cage, and then placed a smaller stick on the inside and watched how Sultan reacted to the situation. So initially, Sultan tried in vain many times to reach the piece of fruit outside of the cage with the small cage that Sultan was given on the inside. And after this didn't work, after countless attempts, Sultan all of a sudden seemed to show this sort of aha moment, this moment of insight when he stepped back from the situation, looked at the stick, looked at the other stick on the outside of the cage, and ended up, in one attempt, grabbing the larger stick with using the shorter stick as a little, tool to grab the larger stick and then grab the piece of fruit. So this displayed the same sort of insight that we as humans might use when we're creative problem solving in a situation. So now we're going to talk about this use of tools and transmitting culture. Especially with transmitting culture, this may seem like a uniquely human behavior to pass down culture, behaviors, and norms from parent to child or among a community. But studies have shown this is not the case. Psychologists Claddier and Whiten in 2012 and Whiten and Bosch in 2001 both conducted studies using chimpanzees and found at least 39 local customs that they related to each chimp's communities and their tool use. So for example, one group might have been found to slurp termites directly from a log to eat them, while another group may have picked them off individually. The example that I show here, they also found one group of chimpanzees to break nuts to eat with a stone hammer versus another group using a wood hammer, because that was a societal norm and use of that tool that had been passed down. So This group differences amongst different chimp communities can be equated to this idea of chimp cultural diversity, much like we see in our own societies. And we can see that these chimps would observe each other in their social groups, recreate the same patterns, and pass these patterns and behaviors down to their offspring, which is much like we do. So a few other cognitive skills that we share with species and I wanted to touch on include those demonstrated by baboons, great apes and dolphins, and chimpanzees. Again, so for example, apes and dolphins were shown to have a sense of self-awareness by being able to recognize themselves in a mirror. In a few studies, as well as chimps, being social creatures, have been proven to grieve the deaths of family members and also even kill their neighbors over gaining land, which are behaviors, maybe not to the extreme of killing our neighbors, but things that we see among human behavior as well. So how different are we humans really from other animals? While our strengths lie a lot more in this divergent thinking idea and cognitive efficiency, we're a very error-prone species when it comes to risk assessment or decision-making, as we can see throughout historical patterns. So I'm going to leave with this idea that cognition and intuition are two things that we have very much in common with other species, which make us a lot less different from them than we think. And this final quote here is from the University of Cambridge study in 2012 that I mentioned at the beginning, that non-human animals, including all animals and birds, possess the neural networks that generate consciousness. Thank you.